Hello and welcome to this live broadcast of the revolt against Sasikala from Chennai on a day when finally members of her party spoke up and said that her elevation as Chief Minister was illegal and immoral. Also on the show we are breaking a big exclusive, how almost 3 decades after the disproportionate assets case which sent Sasikala and Jayalalithaa to jail, the taint of dubious financial links and conflict of interest still hovers over Sasikala and her relatives. All this at a time when we're told that the Tamil Nadu Chief Minister, the present Tamil Nadu Chief Minister, O. Paneerselvam, is at the Jaya Memorial. Could he speak to the press? Could this be another bombshell? We'll have to wait and see. But first, our big exclusive. Now, remember, Sasikala, at the time when she was implicated in the disproportionate assets case, was simply described as a proxy for Jayalalithaa. She was someone in whose name a number of companies were set up and a number of investments were made. This was an attempt, some believe, to ring-fence the then Tamil Nadu Chief Minister by saying it is Sasikala and her family who are making these investments. Now that picture has changed. Now it is Sasikala herself who is all set to become Chief Minister, and yet, as we have found, those financial links, those troubling financial links, very much remain. Let's run you through each of those one by one in our big exclusive starting now. Okay, so here we go. Now, NDTV scrutinized these documents and came up with the following. The first of the Sasikala web. As recently as in January 2015, Sasikala becomes the sole owner of a company called Jazz Cinemas Private Limited. Now, this is the document which shows her shareholding. VK Sasikala owns close to 41 lakh shares of Jazz Cinemas Private Limited. This is in January 2015. This is a family-owned firm. Now, she, shortly after acquiring this company, acquires a prime multiplex in Chennai known as Lux Cinema, Lux Multiplex from the Satyam Cinema Group. Now, the question is, where is this company getting funds from? This is where it becomes interesting. A substantial chunk of these funds have come from a company called Nadu MGR. Now, Nadu MGR was one of the firms which actually came under the cloud in the disproportionate assets case and which was found to have fraudulent sources of income. And yet this company continued to invest in Jazz Cinemas, a company that Sasikala, as we said, is the majority owner of. She has shareholding worth 9.9 crores. My colleague Manas Singh has also helped me break the story. We'll be going across to him in just a second. Let's go across now to the next company. This is known as Midas Distilleries. Now, Sasikala has gained ownership of Midas Distilleries directly through Jazz Cinemas. Manas, who's also unearthed all these documents, give us an idea, Manas, of how much does Sasikala actually own? What percentage does she own of Midas Distilleries via Jazz Cinemas?
Thank you, Vasu. I'd like to say that around 48.37% of the shareholding belongs to Sasikala in Midas Distilleries through Jazz Cinemas Private Limited. As you can see from these documents, there are just two firms which have a maximum shareholding of 15,07,500 out of 31,000 shares which are in total. So one of these companies which holds the major stakes in Midas Golden Distilleries is Jazz Private Limited, Jazz Cinemas Private Limited, as you just suggested, that which belongs to Sasikala. The other company that is also a major stakeholder is Signet Exports Private Limited, as you can see from the documents. This is another company which is controlled by the relatives of Sasikala, her son-in-law and Ilavarsi, who's supposedly her sister-in-law.
All right. Now, why this is a potential conflict of interest is because Midas Distilleries is one of the biggest suppliers of alcohol to TASMAC, which is the state-run Tamil Nadu liquor distribution firm, and it has done continuous business with TASMAC. The last turnover of Midas as of the 2015 documents, correct me if I'm wrong, Manas, is almost 1,800 crores. That's the extent of business that a company which is owned, 50% owned by someone who is a chief minister in waiting, is doing business with a state-run liquor firm. Now we come to a third company. This is called Sri Jaya Finances. Now, according to the documents you unearthed, Manas, Sasikala is managing director of this company for life. Is that correct?
Exactly. According to the first memorandum of association, which according to the document suggests that the company was incorporated in 1994. So the memorandum of association of that time suggests that the directors will remain for the lifetime or until they voluntarily resign. So Sasikala, Mrs. Natarajan N. Sasikala is the managing director for life or until she voluntarily resigns, according to these documents, which are the memorandum of association which was signed in 1994 when the company was incorporated.
Now, why this is significant is because this is a mystery firm. It has, by its own admission, zero revenues, and yet it has share investments of almost 12 crore rupees. Who would invest in a company with virtually zero investment and zero revenues? Interestingly enough, it is the same so-called tainted companies that came under the scanner in the disproportionate assets case, which we just referred to, Nadu, MGR and Jaya Publications. Between them, they invested almost 8.8 crores in Sri Jaya Finances. This is as recently as now. These are all today's filings, which suggest that the long taint of the financial dealings of the disproportionate assets case continue even today. Now, whether since the time these regulatory filings were recorded before the government, which is in the past year or so, Sasikala's status has changed, whether she's resigned from these companies and is no longer director and no longer primary shareholder, is something we don't know because it is not captured in the official records. If that is the case, she's more than welcome to come and make her position clear. But even if she does that, the fact remains that her family still owns and controls these companies, which have both links to dubious firms, dubious financial firms, as well as which pose a conflict of interest the moment she becomes chief minister. Joining me now for the first ADMK reaction to all of this and to the unfolding controversy of the Sasikala regime is K. Pandirajan, Senior Minister in the ADMK government and spokesperson, and also TKS Alangavan, spokesperson of the DMK. Mr. Pandirajan, to you first. Now, given the fact that Sasikala is going to be chief minister, she is no longer a private citizen, isn't it a matter of concern that even now we come across her deep financial interests, which both pose a conflict as well as are tied to some of the dubious firms associated with a disproportionate assets case?
First, let me respond. I think in terms of these four firms where you have seen the investment from Chinnamma, I think nothing is unknown to people. Okay, so you might have taken a ROC report as of yesterday or as of today, but the fact is, as of now, she is not yet the chief minister of Tamil Nadu. And there are these firms, all of which, as you rightly said, have been presented as part of the DA case, and DMK has been talking about it for quite some time. The Jazz Cinemas investment, the Jaya Publications investment, there are nothing which is unknown. And every one of them have been dealt with in the court of law. And I, believe that the Bangalore High Court judgment happened well after factoring in all of it. I'm sure when she does become the chief minister, all these investments will move away from her. And as it is nothing very unknown. There are every Congress leader, every BJP leader who has been part of the government at the center have had their own, like P. Chidambaram, had enough investments in the plantation companies and many other companies, which of course, once he takes over an office, they come under the Office of Profit Regulation. And they would need to move that away. Nothing dubious about these investments.
Let me separate the different points you are making. Okay, let me separate the different points you're making. Number one, when you say that she is not yet chief minister, she definitely is chief minister in waiting. It was just a matter of formality. If the governor had not postponed the swearing in, she would be the chief minister of Tamil Nadu today. And yet, to our knowledge, she is still very much invested in and the owner of these companies, some of which are doing business with the Tamil Nadu government.
No, absolutely. I think you're right. I mean, once the chief minister mantle falls on her, she cannot have Office of Profit. Till then, she is entitled to her shares, to her investments in these companies, and these are legitimate investments. There's nothing dubious about them. That's the first point I'd like to make. Two, once she does become the Chief Minister,
I'll tell you,
as most of us who've been in businesses have to do, I mean, we have transferred those shares. I mean, no longer can you hold those shares. And that she will do. One moment it happens tomorrow or day after, or within the next 2-3 days.
We hope she does that because we hope she does that because till such time as we brought it out, I don't think people were even fully aware of the extent of the ownership.
She will abide by a law.
When you say, and let me take you up on the point
when
you say
I think everybody in Tamil Nadu is aware of
the word dubious.
These are things,
Okay, well, you say that, sir, but, you know, as we were breaking this news, there was a considerable amount of surprise at discovering this. Let me also put to you about the point where you say it's not dubious. The reason why I use that word is because the primary investors in these companies, even today, come from Nadu MGR and Jaya publications, and this, as I said, has been found by the trial court to have fraudulent sources of income.
No, not really. As far as the disproportionate asset case is concerned, there are certain acquisitions which have been answered. Not really. You know, there are out of the 4 companies that you've taken on, 2 of them are investment vehicles. You're talking about Jaya Finance and, you know, companies like them. And it's not very uncommon to have investment vehicles, which primarily are meant to invest in other companies. I find it very childish where your person reports that revenue is 0 but investment is 12 crores. It basically simply means that it's not meant to earn a revenue. It's supposed to invest in other companies and at a period of time you won't have revenue. Investment vehicle by definition is something which earns from the investment it makes in other companies. So there's nothing dubious about it. As far as the other 2 companies is concerned, the JAS transaction is well known to everybody. In fact, the party which made the allegation itself picked it back. Once all the data got disclosed, it was there on the front page of all the newspapers. There's nothing which is confidential about this investment per se.
Okay, we have actually that party, the representative of that party, the DMK with us, Mr. Ilongovan with us. Mr. Ilongovan, do you accept these arguments that this is all legitimate transactions which Sasikala has done and there is no conflict of interest or there is nothing dubious about her links to these companies? Go ahead, Mr. Ilongovan. Mr. Ilongovan, can you hear me? We're trying to get our audio from Mr. Ilongovan. When you say, and we'll come back to him the moment he's able to hear us. Coming back to you, Mr. Pandian, when you say that it is laughable to suggest that there is something questionable about investments, the whole point about Nadu MGR and about Jaya publications was the court's finding that there was no indication, there was no credible evidence that their explanation for why they raised all these crores of rupees was legitimate, that they claimed they sold these subscriptions to a large number of people and that's how this money came in, but they couldn't find these subscribers. In fact, the defense told the court that they lost the entire record of the subscriptions, hence the suggestion that these were illicit funds. That's number 1. Number 2, overall, don't you think that this is a massive conflict of interest when a liquor firm owned by the Sasikala family, and now we discover by Sasikala herself, is supplying liquor to a state-run distribution company? Even if Sasikala were to tomorrow relinquish her ownership of that company, her family would still continue to own it. Isn't that a problem?
No, that's a presumption you're making. In a moment Chinnamma takes charge as the Chief Minister, she will remit all offices of profit. And it could happen tomorrow. It might have happened today. I mean, like, in my view, this is very, very legitimate. I mean, who does she transfer these things to is a question she needs to answer. In my view, us to presume that it will go to some relative of hers and things like that, in my view, is very presumptuous. And I would only tell you, she's absolutely law-abiding, and she will ensure that the right legal step gets taken as and when she assumes charge as the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu. Regarding the second point that you raised, I mean, one of it was that this transaction, things have happened hush-hush. Yeah.